Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean and watching the light fade as you descend, meter by meter, until the sun gives up entirely. Not slowly, not poetically. It just quits. One moment it is blue and familiar, the next it is black, like someone shut off reality. This is where almost unreachable begins. Not because it is spooky, although it is doing a fantastic job at that, but because distance alone stops being the problem. The real obstacle is that the ocean gets actively hostile, like it is offended you even tried to visit. Down here, we are not talking about deep in the casual sense. This is not the kind of deep where scuba divers brag at dinner parties. This is the kind of deep where maps stop feeling confident and humans send robots with crossed fingers. The hadal zone, named after the underworld, starts around 6,000 meters down. That is deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Turn Everest upside down. Drop it in the ocean, and then keep going a little more, just to be rude. If this gentle journey into places where the ocean is almost unreachable helps you relax tonight, please like the video, subscribe to the Deep Sea Documentary channel, and leave a comment sharing when and where you're listening, so this calm science can reach more people who fall asleep to the farthest depths of the sea. The idea of almost unreachable exists because getting here requires threading a needle through engineering, physics, and human anxiety. Submarines cannot just pop down for a quick look. Every journey is planned like a moon landing. Except instead of vacuum, you are surrounded by water that wants to crush you into a very informative smear. Even our toughest submersibles descend slowly, not because they are cautious, but because the ocean insists on respect. As we fall deeper, sound changes, light disappears, and the water grows colder, but not dramatically so. The real shift is psychological. The ocean above you weighs more than entire mountain ranges stacked together, and it is very aware of this fact. Up near the surface, waves feel playful. Down here, the ocean feels serious. This is not a place for splashing. This is a place for silence. And yet, this is not emptiness. That is the first great lie about the deep sea. Humans look at darkness and assume nothing is happening, which is ironic considering how much trouble we get into with that mindset. The hadal zone is alive, not loudly, not energetically, but persistently. Life here does not rush. It waits, it adapts, it specializes. Everything that lives this deep is a master of existing, where the universe seems to have forgotten to install comfort. To understand what lives here, you first need to understand what almost unreachable does to biology. These depths are beyond fishing nets, beyond sunlight-driven food chains, beyond casual exploration. Evolution has been left alone down here, like a long-running experiment no one checked on for millions of years. That is how you get creatures that look less like animals and more like ideas someone sketched at 3 a.m. This is also why we know so little. We have explored more of the moon than this part of our own planet, which is deeply embarrassing if you think about it for more than 5 seconds. Every descent into these depths is a first date with the unknown. We do not know who we are meeting. We just hope they are not bitey. The darkness itself is not just absence of light. It is a biological condition. Without sunlight, time feels different. Day and night do not exist. Seasons barely matter. Life down here is disconnected from the rhythms that rule the surface world. There are no sunrises to cue activity, no sunsets to signal rest. Everything runs on internal clocks, chemical whispers, and the faint promise that something edible might drift by eventually. And this is where the humour sneaks in, because eventually is doing a lot of work. Imagine living in a world where food delivery can take weeks, months, or years, and when it finally arrives, it is whatever fell from above. No menu, no substitutions, just survival roulette. The hadal zone is almost unreachable, not because it is far, but because it operates by rules we did not evolve to tolerate. Our bodies, our machines, and our expectations all struggle here. But life does not. Life treats this place not as a challenge, but as home. And as we continue this journey downward and outward, meeting the organisms that have claimed this darkness, one truth becomes clear very quickly. The ocean did not make this place for us, but it made it for someone. Pressure is the ocean's way of reminding you who is in charge. It does not roar or rush. It simply exists, quietly stacking itself on top of everything beneath it, layer after layer, like an infinitely patient villain. At the surface, you are already carrying the weight of the entire atmosphere on your shoulders, but your body does not complain because it grew up with that weight. Down in the deep sea, pressure stops being polite and starts getting personal. For every 10 meters you descend, the pressure increases by about 1 atmosphere. That sounds manageable until you realize how fast those meters pile up. By the time you reach hadal depths, the pressure is hundreds of times greater than what you experience standing on a beach. This is not squeeze your hand pressure. This is compressed steel, like it forgot its safe word pressure. If a human body were placed down here without protection, the result would be immediate and final. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just physics doing its job. Fluids cannot compress, but gases can. And humans are unfortunately full of gas-filled spaces. Lungs, sinuses, and other air pockets would collapse instantly. Bones would not shatter heroically. They would simply fail. The technical term is catastrophic implosion, but instant pancake without the syrup really captures the emotional truth. Pressure does not just crush large things, it messes with molecules. At extreme depths, the very structure of proteins is under threat. Proteins are carefully folded chains, and their shapes determine how cells function. Pressure pushes on these shapes, trying to unfold them, distort them, and ruin their day. This is why deep-sea life cannot just be surface life wearing a thicker coat. The rules are different at the molecular level. Even metals struggle. Submersibles built to explore these depths are not shaped like submarines you see in movies. They are often spheres or near spheres because pressure distributes itself evenly over curved surfaces. Flat surfaces are an invitation for collapse. The ocean sees corners as weaknesses and exploits them without mercy. Engineers know this, which is why deep-sea vehicles look less like ships and more like armored bubbles having an existential crisis. And pressure is not just a downward force. It presses from every direction at once. There is no up or down when pressure gets this high. Everything is being squeezed equally, like the universe is trying to give you the tightest hug imaginable and refuses to let go. This omnidirectional squeeze changes how materials behave. Things that are rigid at the surface become brittle. Things that are flexible often fare better, which turns out to be a recurring theme for survival down here. What makes pressure especially cruel is its consistency. There are no breaks, no relief. You cannot wait it out. If you live at these depths, you live under this pressure every second of your existence. That means every cell, every membrane, every chemical reaction has adapted to work while being squeezed harder than a car at a monster truck rally. From an engineering perspective, pressure also limits how long we can visit. Even the strongest materials fatigue over time. Tiny imperfections in metal become stress points. Microscopic cracks grow. Seals weaken. The ocean does not need to break your vehicle today. It is perfectly happy letting pressure do it eventually. This is why deep-sea exploration is slow, cautious, and expensive. It is not about bravery, it is about math. Engineers calculate exactly how much pressure a structure can survive, and then assume the ocean will try to exceed that, just to be rude. Every descent is a negotiation with physics, and physics is famously unwilling to compromise. Pressure also affects sound and movement. Water becomes denser, and vibrations behave differently. Mechanical systems that work fine near the surface may struggle or fail entirely under extreme compression. Lubricants thicken. Electronics require special protection. Even tiny design flaws can become fatal at depth. The margin for error is not thin, it is non-existent. And yet, despite all of this, pressure is not inherently evil. It is simply relentless. It does not hunt. It does not choose. It just applies itself, evenly and forever. Life that survives here does not fight pressure. It accepts it, incorporates it, and builds itself around it. Resistance is futile. Accommodation is everything. Understanding pressure is the key to understanding why the deep sea looks the way it does, why exploration is so rare, and why every organism down there feels like it belongs to a different rulebook. Pressure is the background character in every deep sea story, never speaking, never leaving, always shaping the plot. And as we move forward into the creatures that call this place home, keep one thing in mind. Nothing down here is strong enough to ignore pressure, but everything that survives has learned how to live inside its grip. If you were to design a fish specifically to survive in one of the most punishing environments on Earth, you might imagine something armored, sharp, and intimidating. Evolution, however, took one look at that idea and said, what if? Pudding. Enter the hadal snailfish, an animal that looks less like a predator and more like a thought that has not fully formed yet. Pale, gelatinous, and vaguely disappointed in everything, the snailfish is the reigning champion of deep-sea depths, holding records for being the deepest living fish ever observed. At first glance, it is hard to believe this creature is thriving anywhere, let alone at depths where pressure could flatten a car. The snailfish does not have heavy scales or rigid bones. Its body is soft, almost translucent, and shaped like it is permanently melting. But this is not a design flaw. This is the point. In the hadal zone, being squishy is not weakness, it is strategy. The secret to the snailfish's success lies in how its cells are built. Instead of resisting pressure, their bodies match it. Their tissues are filled with fluids that compress easily, which means there is no dramatic pressure difference between the inside and outside of the body. No stress points. No structural betrayal. Pressure pushes in, and the snailfish simply shrugs in the most gelatinous way possible. Their skeletons are also reduced. Bones exist, but they are lighter, thinner, and less mineralized than those of shallow water fish. This makes them flexible rather than brittle. Under immense pressure, rigid structures are liabilities. Flexibility allows energy to disperse instead of snapping something important. It is the biological equivalent of bending with the punch instead of trying to block it. At the molecular level, snailfish cells contain special compounds that help stabilize proteins under extreme pressure. These compounds act like microscopic emotional support pillows, keeping proteins folded and functional when physics is doing its best to ruin their day. Without this chemical support, essential cellular processes would fail. With it, life continues, calmly and efficiently, thousands of meters below the surface. Their skin is another pressure-friendly feature. It is thick, gelatinous, and often lacks traditional scales. This reduces the risk of damage and eliminates rigid surfaces where pressure could cause tearing or deformation. The texture might not win any beauty contests, but in the hadal zone, aesthetics are low on the priority list. Survival is the only metric that matters. Snailfish are also surprisingly effective hunters. They feed primarily on small crustaceans, especially amphipods that wander the deep seafloor. Despite their soft appearance, they are active predators, using suction to pull prey into their mouths. It is less ferocious chase and more unexpected vacuum event. Down here, efficiency beats drama every time. Their sensory systems are tuned for darkness and stillness. Vision is limited because there is little to see, but other senses pick up the slack. They rely on detecting subtle movements and vibrations in the water, clues that something edible has made a poor life choice nearby. In an environment where energy is precious, wasting effort on unnecessary movement is not an option. Reproduction in such extreme depths adds another layer of challenge. Snailfish lay eggs, often attaching them to stable surfaces like rocks or even deep-sea invertebrates. These eggs develop slowly, protected by the same pressure-tolerant chemistry that keeps the adults alive. Childhood down here is not rushed. There is no advantage to growing quickly when everything moves at the pace of geological patience. What makes the hadal snailfish especially fascinating is that it represents a limit. Fish, as a group, cannot survive much deeper than this. Beyond certain depths, pressure and chemistry impose constraints that even squishiness cannot solve. The snailfish is not just another deep-sea animal. It is the edge of what is possible for vertebrates in the ocean. And it is important to remember that this creature was completely unknown to science until very recently. Humans assumed fish could not live this deep, and for a long time we were wrong. Every time a snailfish appears on camera at extreme depth, it is a quiet reminder that the ocean does not consult our expectations before doing something impressive. So while the hadal snailfish may look like a drop dessert with fins, it is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. It does not conquer the deep sea, it cooperates with it. In a place where pressure dominates everything, the snailfish survives by being soft enough to let the ocean do whatever it wants. And that, oddly enough, is strength. If the deep sea had alleyways, giant amphipods would be the ones rifling through the trash at 3 a.m, absolutely thriving. These creatures are crustaceans, distant relatives of shrimp and crabs, but stretched into something that feels slightly unsettling. Some species grow as long as a human forearm, which is impressive until you remember that they are essentially enormous sea bugs. The ocean does not care about your comfort. Giant amphipods live on the deep sea floor, especially in areas where food is scarce and unpredictable. Unlike predators that actively hunt, amphipods are opportunists. They eat whatever they can find, whenever they can find it. Dead fish, sinking organic matter, the remains of animals that had a very bad day above. If it falls, drifts, or collapses into the deep, amphipods are already on their way. Their role as scavengers makes them critical to deep-sea ecosystems. Without them, the ocean floor would slowly accumulate layers of uneaten remains, locking nutrients away instead of recycling them back into the system. Amphipods break down large chunks of organic material into smaller pieces, making it easier for microbes and other animals to finish the job. They are not glamorous, but they are efficient. Nature loves efficiency. Their bodies are built for this lifestyle. Amphipods have segmented exoskeletons that provide protection without making them rigid. Their long legs allow them to move quickly across the seafloor when opportunity strikes. An opportunity, down here, is rare enough that when it appears, you do not waste time asking questions. You eat first. Curiosity, later. One of the most remarkable things about giant amphipods is how fast they can consume a carcass. When something large reaches the deep sea floor, amphipods can strip it down to bones in a matter of hours. They arrive in swarms, drawn by chemical cues in the water, and get to work immediately. It is not pretty, but it is thorough. Imagine a cleanup crew that does not take lunch breaks and does not argue about whose turn it is to sweep. Despite their size and somewhat intimidating appearance, amphipods are not aggressive predators. They are built for endurance, not combat. Their mandibles are strong enough to tear flesh, but they are not designed for chasing live prey. Their strength lies in patience and persistence. They wait. They sense. They converge. Reproduction in the deep sea is always a challenge, and amphipods have adapted by producing relatively few offspring, but investing heavily in each one. Females brood their young in a pouch, protecting them until they are ready to face the seafloor on their own. There is no daycare down here. If you survive childhood, you have already proven your worth. Their growth is slow, paced by the limited food supply and cold temperatures. Energy is precious, and amphipods do not waste it. This slow lifestyle means they can live longer than you might expect for a crustacean. Longevity is another advantage in an environment where meals are unpredictable. Giant amphipods are also a reminder that size does not always follow the same rules in the deep sea. In many cases, animals down here grow larger than their shallow water relatives, a phenomenon often linked to colder temperatures and slower metabolisms. Bigger bodies store energy more efficiently and allow animals to survive longer between meals. When your next dinner could be weeks away, having reserves is a smart move. From a human perspective, amphipods are fascinating because they respond so quickly to disturbance. When researchers send down landers with bait, amphipods are often the first to arrive. Cameras capture them swarming the scene, crawling over equipment, and generally behaving like they have discovered the best buffet in town. It is one of the few times deep-sea life feels almost familiar. Like watching pigeons descend on dropped food, just significantly more alien. And yes, they really are the ocean's raccoons. They show up uninvited, eat absolutely everything, and leave nothing behind. The difference is that amphipods perform a vital ecological service while doing it. They keep the deep sea from becoming a graveyard of wasted nutrients. They turn death into continuity. Without scavengers like giant amphipods, deep-sea ecosystems would grind to a halt. Energy would pile up in unusable forms, and life would struggle even more than it already does. These creatures may not be beautiful in the traditional sense, but they are essential. So the next time you imagine the deep ocean as a quiet, empty place, picture instead a swarm of amphipods doing what they do best, cleaning up, recycling, and proving once again that even in the darkest parts of the planet, someone has to take out the trash. In the deep ocean, darkness is not just the absence of light. It is the default setting. Once sunlight disappears, vision becomes unreliable, and survival depends on alternative strategies. One of the most remarkable solutions life has invented down here is bioluminescence, the ability to produce light using chemistry instead of electricity. It sounds magical, but it is really just extremely well-managed physics with a splash of biological flair. Bioluminescence works through a chemical reaction. Inside specialized cells, a molecule called luciferin reacts with oxygen, aided by an enzyme called luciferase. This reaction releases energy in the form of light, not heat. That distinction matters. Heat would be wasted energy and potentially dangerous in cold, energy-poor environments. Light, on the other hand, can be aimed, timed, and controlled. It is efficient. Nature loves efficient. Different species tweak this chemistry in different ways, producing light that ranges from blue to green and occasionally red. Blue light travels farthest in water, which is why it is the most common color in the deep sea. It is the long-distance communication setting. Red light, on the other hand, is rare and sneaky. Most deep-sea animals cannot see red wavelengths, which makes red bioluminescence the equivalent of using a flashlight only you can see. Perfect for spying on prey without tipping them off. Bioluminescence serves many purposes, and none of them are about looking pretty. One of the most common uses is camouflage. Counter-illumination allows animals to produce light on their undersides that matches the faint glow coming from above. To predators below, this makes them nearly invisible, blending into the background instead of appearing as a dark silhouette. It is biological stealth technology, perfected over millions of years. Another use is distraction. Some animals eject glowing particles or flash bright lights to confuse predators. In the sudden burst of light, the predator loses track of its target, buying the prey a crucial moment to escape. It is the deep-sea equivalent of tossing a flashbang and running for your life, which is both clever and extremely relatable. Communication is also key. In an environment where sound and smell travel better than sight, light still plays an important role in signaling. Some species use specific patterns of flashes to identify mates or ward off rivals. These signals are often species-specific, like underwater Morse code. Get the pattern wrong, and you might attract something that sees you less as a date and more as a snack. Predation flips bioluminescence into an offensive weapon. Some animals use light to lure prey closer, exploiting curiosity or confusion. A small glow in the darkness can look like food, a mate, or just something interesting enough to investigate. In the deep sea, investigating the wrong thing even once can be a career-ending mistake. The ability to produce light is not evenly distributed across the animal kingdom. It has evolved independently many times, which tells us something important. When different branches of life keep inventing the same solution, it usually means the problem is serious and the solution works. Darkness is a big problem. Bioluminescence works. Producing light is not free. It costs energy, and energy is scarce in the deep ocean. That is why bioluminescent displays are often brief and purposeful. No one is leaving the lights on down here. Every flash is intentional, every glow carefully controlled. Waste is not tolerated in a place where calories are precious. Some animals host bioluminescent bacteria instead of producing light themselves. These bacteria live in specialized organs and are fed nutrients in exchange for light. It is a mutualistic relationship. The animal gets a controllable light source, and the bacteria get a stable home and steady food supply. Even in the deep sea, outsourcing can be efficient. What makes bioluminescence especially fascinating is how integrated it is into behavior. Light is not just something these animals have. It is something they use, strategically and creatively. It influences how they hunt, hide, communicate, and reproduce. It shapes interactions in a world where vision should not work, yet somehow still does. From a human perspective, bioluminescence feels almost like science fiction. Glowing animals drifting through black water look unreal. like something added in post-production. But this is not spectacle for our benefit. It is survival machinery, tuned by evolution and refined by necessity. In the deep sea, glowing is not about being seen. It is about being seen by the right thing at the right moment, or not being seen at all. Bioluminescence is light with intent. And in a world where darkness is absolute, that intent can mean the difference between living another day and becoming part of someone else's dinner. If bioluminescence had a mascot, it would probably be an anglerfish, and it would be holding a tiny glowing lamp while staring directly into your soul. Anglerfish live in the deep ocean, where darkness is constant, and encounters with others of your own species are rare. This scarcity shapes everything about their lives, especially how they reproduce. And the result is one of the strangest mating systems on the planet. Female anglerfish are the ones you usually see in documentaries. They are relatively large, armed with sharp teeth, and equipped with a bioluminescent lure that dangles in front of their mouths. This glowing appendage attracts prey, which swim closer out of curiosity and immediately regret that decision. The lure is not a decoration, it is a trap, and it works beautifully in the blackness of the deep sea. Male anglerfish, on the other hand, look like they wandered in from an entirely different species. They are tiny by comparison, sometimes dozens of times smaller than females. Their bodies are streamlined for one task and one task only: finding a female. In a world with no landmarks, no light, and enormous distances between individuals, this is easier said than done. To accomplish this, male anglerfish have an exceptional sense of smell. Their nostrils are highly developed, allowing them to detect chemical signals released by females. When a male finds a female, he bites onto her body. This is not an aggressive act. This is courtship, romance, deep sea style. After biting the female, the male releases enzymes that dissolve the tissue between them. Their circulatory systems merge, and over time, the male becomes physically fused to the female. His organs regress, except for the ones involved in reproduction. Eventually, he exists as little more than a living packet of sperm, permanently attached to his mate. This process is known as sexual parasitism, and it sounds horrifying if you think about it using surface world social norms. Fortunately, anglerfish do not have social media, because the comment sections would be unbearable. In the deep sea, however, this strategy makes perfect sense. Encounters between males and females are so rare that when a male finally finds a female, letting go would be a terrible idea. By fusing permanently, the male ensures that whenever the female is ready to reproduce, sperm is immediately available. No searching, no timing issues, no awkward follow-up messages. It is efficiency taken to an extreme. Females can have multiple males attached at once, each contributing genetic material. This increases reproductive success in an environment where opportunities are scarce. It is not about romance. It is about probability. The deep sea does not reward sentimentality. The female benefits from this arrangement as well. She never has to expend energy searching for a mate. Energy saved is energy that can be used for growth, hunting, and survival. The males, in turn, trade independence for certainty. In a place where survival is already a long shot, certainty has value. This reproductive system also explains why anglerfish species can persist despite low population densities. Traditional mating systems would fail here. Too few encounters, too much distance, too much darkness. Sexual parasitism solves the problem by removing timing from the equation entirely. From an evolutionary perspective, this is a masterclass in adaptation. The deep sea imposed a constraint, and anglerfish responded by rewriting the rules. The result is bizarre, unsettling, and wildly effective. Nature does not care if something feels strange to us. It cares if it works. Beyond reproduction, anglerfish are also impressive predators. Their enormous mouths and expandable stomachs allow them to consume prey nearly as large as themselves. When food is unpredictable, being able to eat whatever shows up is a major advantage. The glowing lure does not just attract small snacks, it can bring in meals worth waiting for. Their bodies are built for ambush. Soft tissues allow them to remain motionless for long periods, conserving energy. When prey comes close enough, the strike is fast and final. There is no chase. Chasing wastes energy, and the deep sea is not a place that tolerates waste. The humor in all of this comes from the contrast. Anglerfish look like monsters, live in darkness, and reproduce in a way that sounds like science fiction body horror. And yet, they are doing exactly what evolution asked of them. Survive, reproduce, persist. Would this dating strategy survive on land? Absolutely not. But the deep sea is not land. It is a place where distance, darkness, and scarcity reshape life in radical ways. Anglerfish are not weird by deep sea standards. They are practical. And in a world where meeting someone even once can be a miracle, practicality beats romance every time. If you ever wanted proof that the definition of individual is negotiable, the deep sea is happy to provide it. Drifting through the darkness are creatures that look like single animals, but are actually entire communities pretending to be one thing. Deep-sea jellyfish and siphonophores take the concept of teamwork to such an extreme that calling them organisms feels almost misleading. These are collectives, biological cooperatives held together by trust, chemistry, and a complete lack of personal boundaries. Let's start with jellyfish, because they already look strange enough before you learn how little they care about conventional body plans. Deep-sea jellyfish are mostly water, shaped like bells, ribbons, or flowing sheets that pulse gently through the blackness. They do not swim so much as negotiate with the water. Their movements are slow, deliberate, and hypnotic, like living screensavers that somehow eat. Unlike fish or crustaceans, jellyfish do not have brains. They operate using decentralized nerve nets, which means no single control center is calling the shots. Decisions are local. Sensory input triggers responses directly. This makes them surprisingly resilient. Lose a part, and the rest keeps going. It is less command hierarchy and more group chat where everyone reacts at once. Their bodies are simple, but not primitive. Simplicity is intentional here. Jellyfish tissues are thin, allowing nutrients and oxygen to diffuse directly without complex transport systems. This works well in the deep sea, where energy efficiency matters more than speed or strength. They are not built to chase, they are built to endure. Now take that idea and push it even further, and you get siphonophores. At first glance, a siphonophore looks like a single, long, delicate animal, sometimes stretching longer than a blue whale. But it is not one animal. It is a colony made up of many genetically identical units called zooids, each specialized for a specific job. Some zooids handle movement, pulsing rhythmically to propel the entire colony. Others are responsible for feeding, armed with stinging tentacles that capture prey. Some handle digestion, others focus entirely on reproduction. None of these units can survive on their own. Together, they form a functioning whole. Separate them, and everything falls apart. This division of labor is so precise that siphonophores blur the line between organism and society. They are not just animals working together. They are body parts that decided to unionize. Imagine roommates who share not just chores but organs. One roommate is the stomach, another is the propulsion system. One is just vibes and stinging cells. The advantage of this system is efficiency. Each zooid does one job and does it well. There is no wasted effort, no redundancy. In the deep sea, where food is scarce and survival margins are thin, specialization pays off. The colony can grow, adding more units as resources allow, without redesigning the entire system. Deep-sea jellyfish and siphonophores also take advantage of their gelatinous bodies to remain nearly invisible. Their tissues refract light in ways that make them hard to detect. Even when they are right in front of you, in darkness, transparency is power. If predators cannot see you, they cannot plan around you. Feeding strategies are passive but effective. Long tentacles trail behind, increasing the chances of encountering prey. When something brushes against them, stinging cells fire automatically. There is no aiming, no chasing, just contact and chemistry. In a place where energy is precious, waiting is often the best strategy. What is especially fascinating is how these colonies coordinate without centralized control. Signals pass chemically and electrically from zooid to zooid, triggering responses that ripple across the entire structure. Movement, feeding, and defense emerge from cooperation, not command. It is biology proving that leadership is optional if communication is good enough. From a human perspective, siphonophores feel deeply unsettling. They challenge our instincts about individuality. Where does one animal end and another begin? The answer, unhelpfully, is yes. But the deep sea is not interested in philosophical comfort. It is interested in what works. Jellyfish and siphonophores have existed in some form for hundreds of millions of years. They survived mass extinctions, climate shifts, and the rise and fall of countless predators. Their design is not flashy, but it is durable. When everything else changes, simplicity and cooperation keep showing up as winning strategies. And the humor in all this is hard to ignore. These creatures float through eternal darkness, made of jelly, without brains, operating as collectives, and somehow they are wildly successful. They do not argue. They do not compete internally. They do not need meetings. Everyone knows their role, and no one complains about rent. In the deep sea, being an individual is optional. Being functional is not. Just when you think the deep sea cannot get any stranger, the seafloor splits open and starts leaking chemistry. Hydrothermal vents are cracks in the ocean crust, where seawater seeps down, gets superheated by magma, and then blasts back out loaded with minerals. The result looks like underwater smokestacks, billowing dark clouds into freezing water. It feels wrong. Heat, chemicals, and life do not usually go together in our mental models. And yet, here they are, throwing a party in the dark. These vents create oases in an otherwise sparse environment. While much of the deep ocean survives on leftovers drifting down from above, hydrothermal vents generate their own energy. Not sunlight, not photosynthesis. Chemistry. This process is called chemosynthesis, and it flips the usual food web upside down. At the heart of vent ecosystems are bacteria and archaea that use chemical reactions to produce energy. Instead of capturing light, they oxidize substances like hydrogen sulfide, a chemical that smells like rotten eggs and would be lethal to many surface organisms. To vent microbes, hydrogen sulfide is not poison, it is fuel. Evolution loves a good plot twist. These microbes form the base of the food web, converting chemical energy into organic matter. Everything else in the vent community depends on them, either by eating them directly or by forming partnerships so intimate they blur the line between organism and ecosystem. Hydrothermal vent communities are dense, crowded, and oddly vibrant. Compared to the surrounding seafloor, vents are bursting with life. Large animals cluster around them, forming what scientists often describe as vent cities. It is an apt metaphor. Resources are concentrated, space is limited, and everyone is packed in close, because moving too far away means starvation. The chemistry around vents is extreme. Water temperatures can vary wildly over short distances, from near freezing to hot enough to melt plastic. The fluids are rich in metals and minerals that would be toxic elsewhere. Life here does not just tolerate these conditions, it uses them. Adaptation is not optional when the environment is this intense. One of the most remarkable aspects of vent ecosystems is how independent they are from the rest of the ocean. They do not rely on sunlight-driven productivity from above. This discovery reshaped our understanding of where life can exist. It suggested that life might be possible on other worlds, with liquid water and chemical energy, even in the absence of a star. The deep sea quietly expanded the search for life in the universe. Animals around vents often form symbiotic relationships with chemosynthetic microbes. Instead of hunting or grazing, they provide a home and nutrients for bacteria that, in return, produce food. It is an arrangement built on mutual survival. When conditions are harsh, cooperation becomes currency. Vent ecosystems are also ephemeral. Individual vents can shut down as geological activity shifts. When that happens, entire communities must disperse, find new vents, or die. This creates a dynamic landscape of colonization and extinction, played out over years or decades. Life here is resilient, but not permanent. Because vents are fueled by Earth's internal heat, they reveal a deep connection between geology and biology. Tectonic plates move, crust cracks, chemistry flows, life responds. The planet is not just a stage for biology. It is an active participant, shaping where and how life can exist. From a human perspective, hydrothermal vents feel almost mythic. Black smoke rising from the seafloor, strange creatures clustering around glowing minerals, heat shimmering in the dark. It looks less like Earth and more like a science fiction set. But this is not fantasy. This is physics and chemistry doing what they do best, with life opportunistically tagging along. The humour comes from how casually vents ignore our assumptions. For centuries, humans believed sunlight was the foundation of all ecosystems. Then we found places where sunlight never reaches, and life said, "That's fine, we'll use sulfur." It is a humbling reminder that nature does not read our textbooks. Hydrothermal vents show us that life does not need comfort, stability, or familiarity. It needs gradients, energy, and time. Given those ingredients, it will build ecosystems in places that seem completely hostile to us. In the deep sea, photosynthesis is optional. Chemistry is king. And around these seething cracks in the Earth's crust, life proves once again that it is less fragile and far more inventive than we ever imagined. If hydrothermal vents are cities, then vent tube worms are the towering apartment buildings that make everyone stop and stare. These animals can grow over 2 meters long, anchored to the seafloor in dense clusters, bright white tubes rising from the darkness like a surreal forest of plumbing gone rogue. At the top of each tube is a vivid red plume, waving gently in the vent currents, looking almost festive for a place that smells like sulfur and geological chaos. What makes tube worms truly extraordinary is not their size or colour, but what they are missing. They have no mouth, no stomach, no digestive tract at all. By most biological standards, this should be a deal breaker. Eating is usually considered a core requirement for being alive. Tube worms, however, found a workaround so elegant it feels like cheating. Instead of feeding themselves, tube worms outsource the job entirely. Inside their bodies is a specialized organ called a trophosome, packed with billions of symbiotic bacteria. These bacteria are the real workers. They use chemicals from the vent fluids to produce organic compounds that nourish the worm. The worm, in return, provides a safe home and a steady supply of raw materials. It is less a pet and owner relationship and more a lifelong, all-inclusive catering contract. The red plume at the top of the tube worm plays a crucial role in this arrangement. It is not decorative. It functions like a combined lung and delivery system. The plume absorbs oxygen and chemicals from the surrounding water and transports them through the worm's circulatory system to the bacteria living inside. This transport job is handled by a highly specialized blood chemistry that deserves its own round of applause. Tube worm blood contains a unique form of hemoglobin that can bind oxygen and hydrogen sulfide at the same time. For most animals, hydrogen sulfide is extremely toxic. It interferes with cellular respiration and can shut down essential processes. Tube worms treat it like groceries. Their hemoglobin safely escorts sulfide molecules directly to the bacteria, without poisoning the worm itself. It is biochemical finesse at its finest. This internal partnership allows tube worms to grow at astonishing rates. Some species can grow more than a meter in just a couple of years, making them some of the fastest growing invertebrates known. In the deep sea, where growth is usually slow and cautious, this kind of rapid expansion is almost rebellious. When energy is abundant and predictable, life does not waste time. Tube worms anchor themselves to vent structures using tough, chitin-like tubes that protect their soft bodies. Once settled, they rarely move. Mobility is unnecessary when food comes to you through chemistry and circulation. Their survival depends entirely on the continued activity of the vent. If the vent shuts down, the bacteria lose their energy source, and the worm's internal economy collapses. Reproduction adds another layer of complexity. Tube worms release larvae into the surrounding water, where they drift until they encounter a suitable vent environment. Crucially, these larvae do not start life with bacteria already inside them. They must acquire their symbiotic partners from the environment. Only after successful colonization do they develop a trophosome and begin their mouth-free lifestyle. Finding the right microbes at the right time is literally a matter of life and death. This dependency makes tube worms both resilient and fragile. They thrive spectacularly where conditions are right, but they cannot survive outside that narrow window. They are specialists in the purest sense. The deep sea rewards specialization when niches are stable, even if those niches are extreme. From a scientific perspective, tube worms were a shock. When they were first discovered, they challenged long-held assumptions about animal nutrition and ecosystem structure. Here were large, complex animals living entirely without eating in any recognizable way. It forced biologists to rethink what it means to be an animal and how flexible life can be when pushed into unfamiliar corners. There is also something quietly humorous about their lifestyle. Tube worms spend their entire lives standing still, being fed internally by bacteria, while waving a red plume like a permanent houseplant. No hunting, no chewing, no digestive drama, just vibes, circulation, and microbial cuisine. If evolution had a sense of humor, this feels like one of its subtler jokes. Yet for all their strangeness, tube worms are perfectly adapted to their world. They do not fight their environment. They integrate with it, turning toxic chemicals into nourishment and geological instability into opportunity. In the harsh, dark realm of hydrothermal vents, tube worms show that independence is overrated. Sometimes, the smartest survival strategy is admitting you do not need a mouth if your roommates are phenomenal cooks. Not all deep-sea oases are loud, hot, or dramatic. Some of them are quiet, cold, and smell faintly like chemistry class gone wrong. Methane seeps and cold vents are places where hydrocarbons, especially methane, leak slowly out of the seafloor. There are no towering smokestacks or boiling fluids here, just steady, invisible trickles of gas and chemicals seeping upward, creating pockets of life in an otherwise sparse landscape. In the deep sea, this counts as excellent news. Methane seeps form when organic material buried in sediments breaks down over time, producing methane gas. This gas migrates upward through cracks and porous rock until it reaches the seafloor. Unlike hydrothermal vents, these seeps are not driven by magma or extreme heat. The temperatures are close to the surrounding water, which is why they are often called cold seeps. Cold is relative, of course. Down here, everything is cold unless the earth is actively on fire. The real stars of methane seeps are microbes. Specialized bacteria and archaea use methane as an energy source, oxidizing it through chemical reactions that release usable energy. Some do this aerobically, using oxygen. Others operate anaerobically, pairing methane oxidation with sulfate reduction. The details are complex, but the outcome is simple. Microbes turn leaking gas into food. These microbial communities form thick mats on the seafloor, sometimes creating pale, carpet-like layers that stretch for meters. They are the foundation of seep ecosystems, converting chemical energy into biomass that supports larger organisms. Without microbes, methane seeps would just be leaky patches of sediment. With them, they become bustling neighborhoods. Methane seeps often create carbonate rock formations as a byproduct of microbial activity. These rocks harden the seafloor, providing stable surfaces in an environment that is otherwise soft and shifting. This stability allows animals to settle, attach, and build long-term communities. In the deep sea, real estate matters. Animals around methane seeps frequently form close relationships with these microbes. Some host them internally, while others graze directly on microbial mats. The entire ecosystem is built on the idea that gas leaks are not disasters, but opportunities. It is the one place on Earth where discovering a methane leak makes biologists excited instead of calling an emergency hotline. Unlike hydrothermal vents, methane seeps can persist for thousands of years. They are slow, steady, and reliable. This longevity allows communities to develop gradually, leading to complex, layered ecosystems. Generations of organisms can live and die in the same place, recycling nutrients and maintaining the system over long timescales. The chemistry of methane seeps also plays a role in regulating Earth's climate. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas, and microbial consumption at seeps prevents large amounts of it from reaching the atmosphere. These deep-sea microbes act as a biological filter, quietly mitigating methane release without asking for recognition. They are unsung heroes, working in darkness to stabilize the planet. From an ecological standpoint, methane seeps demonstrate that energy in the deep sea does not only come from above or from heat below. It can also come from within the sediments themselves. This adds another layer of complexity to deep-sea food webs and shows how diverse energy pathways can be when sunlight is not part of the equation. There is something oddly comforting about methane seeps. They are calm, persistent, and productive without drama. Life here does not rush. It grows slowly, feeds steadily, and adapts to subtle changes in chemistry over time. It is a reminder that stability can exist even in extreme environments as long as energy flows. The humor, of course, lies in the inversion. On land, methane leaks are problems. They signal danger, waste, and environmental risk. In the deep sea, they are life-giving. Entire ecosystems depend on them. Fish, crustaceans, worms, and microbes gather around these leaks like shoppers around a farmer's market, browsing the invisible wares. Methane seeps also reinforce a recurring theme of the deep ocean. Life does not need comfort. It needs opportunity. Given a reliable energy source, even one that seems hostile or useless to us, biology will build something intricate and enduring around it. So while they may lack the visual spectacle of hydrothermal vents, methane seeps are no less important. They are quiet engines of productivity, powered by gas leaks and microbial ingenuity. In the deep sea, this is not a problem to be fixed. It is a miracle to be studied. Somehow, in the cold, dark, high-pressure depths of the ocean, evolution decided to create something undeniably charming. Deep-sea octopuses, especially the group commonly called Dumbo octopuses, look like they should not exist in a place so hostile. With their rounded bodies, large expressive eyes, and ear-like fins flapping gently as they swim, they seem more like animated characters than residents of the abyss. And yet, they are perfectly adapted to life, where very few animals dare to go. Dumbo octopuses get their nickname from the fins on either side of their mantle, which resemble ears when they flap. These fins are not for show. They provide a slow, energy-efficient way to move through the water. Instead of jet propulsion, which is common in shallow water octopuses and costs a lot of energy, Dumbo octopuses glide. In the deep sea, where every calorie counts, gliding is a smart lifestyle choice. Their bodies are soft and gelatinous, reducing the impact of pressure. Unlike their shallow water relatives, many deep-sea octopuses lack ink sacs. Ink is a defensive tool that works best in light-filled environments where visual confusion matters. In total darkness, releasing ink is about as useful as throwing shade in an empty room. Evolution cut the feature to save energy and resources. Deep-sea octopuses also lack a rigid internal shell or heavy musculature. Their tissues are flexible, allowing them to tolerate pressure without structural damage. This softness pairs well with their calm demeanor. These octopuses are not sprinters or ambush predators. They are patient explorers, drifting close to the seafloor and investigating their surroundings with deliberate curiosity. Their arms are lined with sensitive suckers that function as both hands and taste buds. Touch and chemical sensing are crucial down here, where vision is limited. A Dumbo octopus can taste the seafloor, detecting subtle cues left behind by potential prey. When it finds something edible, it envelops it gently, rather than attacking with speed or force. Feeding strategies reflect the realities of the deep sea. Dumbo octopuses consume small invertebrates like worms and crustaceans that live on or just above the seafloor. There is no dramatic hunt, no high-speed chase, just quiet, methodical foraging. Their metabolism is slow, tuned to an environment where food arrives sporadically. Reproduction in the deep sea demands patience, and Dumbo octopuses deliver. Unlike many octopus species that reproduce once and die shortly after, some deep-sea octopuses have extended reproductive periods. Females carry eggs at various stages of development and deposit them one at a time in protected locations. This staggered approach increases the odds that at least some offspring encounter favorable conditions. The eggs themselves develop slowly, sometimes taking years to hatch. There is no parental care after deposition, but the eggs are well provisioned, giving the young a fighting chance when they finally emerge. Childhood in the deep sea is not rushed. Survival favors those who can wait. Behaviorally, deep-sea octopuses are calm and unhurried. Observations from submersibles show them reacting to disturbances with curiosity rather than panic. Instead of fleeing rapidly, they often adjust position slowly, maintaining awareness of their environment. This measured response likely conserves energy and avoids attracting attention from predators. From a neurological standpoint, octopuses are already famous for their intelligence, and deep-sea species are no exception. While their behaviors are harder to study, they display problem-solving skills and sensory integration suited to complex, low-light environments. Intelligence, it seems, does not require sunlight either. There is something deeply amusing about encountering a Dumbo octopus thousands of meters below the surface, in a realm dominated by alien shapes and unsettling adaptations. This soft, flapping creature feels almost comforting. It is a reminder that evolution does not aim for intimidation. It aims for effectiveness. Cuteness, occasionally, is just a side effect. Deep-sea octopuses embody a different philosophy of survival. They do not overpower their environment. They move gently within it. They do not rush. They do not waste. They float, taste, and think their way through the darkness. And perhaps that is why they feel so endearing. In one of the most extreme places on Earth, they show that calm, flexibility, and a pair of flappy ears can still be enough to make a living. Not every extreme environment in the ocean announces itself with darkness, pressure, or heat. Some of the most challenging places for marine life are defined by what is missing: rather than what is present. Oxygen minimum zones are regions of the ocean where dissolved oxygen levels drop so low that survival becomes a constant physiological negotiation. These zones often form at mid to deep depths, creating invisible barriers that shape where life can exist. Oxygen minimum zones develop when biological activity near the surface produces large amounts of organic matter that sinks and decomposes. Microbes consume oxygen as they break this material down. If circulation is limited and fresh, oxygen-rich water does not mix in fast enough. Oxygen levels plummet. The result is a layer of water where breathing, as most animals understand it, becomes extremely difficult. For many organisms, entering an oxygen minimum zone would be like suddenly trying to sprint while inhaling through a straw. Your muscles demand oxygen, but the supply simply is not there. Most animals cannot handle this for long. Those that live here permanently, however, have evolved remarkable strategies to cope with chronic oxygen scarcity. One adaptation is metabolic suppression. Animals in oxygen minimum zones often operate at a slower pace of life. Their heart rates, activity levels, and overall energy demands are reduced. This is not laziness, it is efficiency. When oxygen is limited, every movement must justify its cost. Some species have blood pigments with a higher affinity for oxygen, allowing them to extract usable oxygen from extremely low concentrations. Their respiratory systems are tuned to grab and hold on to every available molecule. It is the biological equivalent of wringing water from a nearly dry sponge. Body shape also plays a role. Many animals in oxygen minimum zones have increased surface area relative to volume, which improves gas exchange. Thin bodies, expanded gill structures, or specialized membranes help maximize oxygen uptake. When oxygen is rare, design matters. Behavioral adaptations are just as important. Many species time their activity to brief periods when oxygen levels are slightly higher, such as during nightly vertical migrations. Others remain largely motionless, conserving energy and avoiding oxygen debt. In these zones, patience is a survival skill. Oxygen minimum zones also influence community structure. Predators that rely on high-energy pursuits are largely excluded. This allows species that tolerate low oxygen to thrive with reduced predation pressure. It is not a comfortable environment, but it can be a safer one. Some animals exploit these zones as refuges. By tolerating conditions others avoid, they gain access to resources with less competition. This trade-off between physiological stress and ecological opportunity shapes the distribution of life in subtle but powerful ways. The chemistry of oxygen minimum zones has broader implications as well. Low oxygen conditions alter nutrient cycles, affecting nitrogen and carbon processing in the ocean. Microbial communities shift, favoring processes that would be rare or impossible in oxygen-rich waters. These zones are not just biological challenges, they are biogeochemical engines. From a human perspective, oxygen minimum zones are concerning because they are expanding in some parts of the ocean due to climate change. Warmer waters hold less oxygen, and changes in circulation can exacerbate oxygen depletion. As these zones grow, they may compress habitats and disrupt existing ecosystems. For the animals already living there, however, oxygen minimum zones are not new. They are long-standing features of the ocean, and life has adapted accordingly. These organisms represent the edge of aerobic existence, operating with oxygen budgets so tight that waste is not an option. The humor in this chapter lies in the sheer audacity of it all. Imagine designing a body that can function while permanently short of breath. Imagine building a life around constraint. That is what these animals do every day, without complaint, without choice. Oxygen minimum zones remind us that survival is not always about abundance. Sometimes it is about making do with almost nothing. In the deep ocean, breathing is a luxury, and life has learned how to live without taking it for granted. Sharks already have a reputation for looking like they were perfected early and then left mostly unchanged. But deep-sea sharks prove that evolution was still experimenting long after it nailed the basics. In the darkness of the deep ocean, some sharks have drifted far from the sleek silhouettes we recognize from documentaries. They are slower, stranger, and often deeply unsettling, as if someone took a normal shark blueprint and started pulling on random parts just to see what would happen. The goblin shark is the most famous example, and it earns that fame, honestly. With its elongated, flattened snout, flabby body, and protrusible jaws that launch forward like a spring-loaded trap, it looks less like a predator and more like a practical joke. And yet, every part of its design serves a purpose in the deep sea. The long snout of the goblin shark is packed with electroreceptors, specialized sensory organs that detect the faint electrical fields produced by living animals. All muscle movements generate tiny electrical signals. And in the deep ocean, these signals are often more reliable than sight. Vision fades with darkness, but electricity is honest. If something moves, it gives itself away. Electroreception allows deep-sea sharks to hunt without relying on light. They can sense prey buried in sediment or drifting quietly in the water column. This sense is incredibly sensitive, capable of detecting signals weaker than the electricity from a household battery. In a place where encounters are rare, missing a meal is not an option. The goblin shark's jaw mechanism complements this sensory advantage. When prey is detected, the shark lunges forward and shoots its jaws outward with surprising speed. This compensates for its otherwise slow swimming style. It does not chase, it ambushes. Energy conservation is everything in the deep sea, and this method delivers maximum payoff for minimal effort. Deep-sea sharks generally have softer bodies and less dense musculature than their shallow water relatives. This reduces energy costs and improves buoyancy. Many also have large livers, filled with oils, that help them float without constant swimming. Neutral buoyancy allows them to hover patiently, waiting for sensory cues instead of actively searching. Their teeth are often designed for grasping rather than cutting. Prey items in the deep sea are usually small and infrequent. There is no need for slicing through large, struggling animals. Holding onto something once you have it is far more important. Reproduction in deep-sea sharks reflects the slow pace of their environment. They tend to grow slowly, mature late, and produce relatively few offspring. This makes them vulnerable to disturbance, but it also means their life histories are finely tuned to stable, low-energy conditions. They are not built for rapid population turnover. They are built to persist. Behaviorally, deep-sea sharks are calm and deliberate. There is no frantic movement, no wasted effort. Observations show them cruising slowly or remaining nearly motionless for long periods. In the deep ocean, patience is not a virtue, it is a requirement. The diversity among deep-sea sharks is also striking. From lantern sharks that produce their own light to species with elongated fins, bizarre proportions or ghostly translucence. This group showcases how flexible the shark body plan really is. Evolution did not stop at good enough. It kept tinkering. From a human perspective, these sharks often trigger unease because they break familiar patterns. We expect sharks to be fast, powerful, and and streamlined. Deep sea sharks are none of those things. They are weird, slow, and oddly fragile looking. But appearances are misleading. They are successful precisely because they match their environment. The "let's try something weird" phase of evolution never really ended. It just moved into places we rarely see. The deep sea is a laboratory with millions of years of trial and error, and deep sea sharks are among its most creative outcomes. In a world without light, speed, or abundance, these sharks rely on senses we barely understand and strategies that look alien to us. They are reminders that there is no single way to be a predator. There are only ways that work. And down here, weird works just fine. At first glance, the abyssal plains look like nothing. Vast stretches of flat, muddy seafloor extend for thousands of kilometers, broken only by the occasional rock or gentle ripple. Compared to coral reefs or hydrothermal vents, these regions seem barren, almost boring. It is tempting to call them deserts of the deep sea. That comparison is understandable, but it is also misleading. The abyssal plain is not empty. It is just very, very patient. The abyssal plains cover more than half of Earth's surface, making them the largest habitat on the planet. They sit at depths of around 4,000 to 6,000 meters, far from sunlight, storms, and most dramatic geological features. Life here exists at a slow pace, tuned to scarcity and consistency. There are no sudden booms of productivity. Instead, there is a steady, quiet rain of organic material from above. This slow rain is what sustains the abyssal plain. Tiny particles of dead plankton, fecal matter, and other organic debris drift down through the water column, eventually settling on the seafloor. It takes weeks, months, or even years to arrive. By the time it does, it is not exactly fresh. But down here, old food is still food. This constant drizzle of material creates an environment where life is spread thin but persistent. Animals are spaced far apart, conserving energy and avoiding competition. There is no point clustering when resources are evenly distributed and limited. The abyssal plain rewards restraint. Most abyssal animals are small, slow, and inconspicuous. Many live buried in the sediment, feeding on organic particles mixed into the mud. This feeding strategy, called deposit feeding, turns the seafloor itself into a pantry. It is not glamorous, but it works. When food is scarce, you do not waste time being picky. The sediment of the abyssal plain is biologically active. Beneath the surface, countless organisms process organic material, recycle nutrients, and maintain the ecosystem. What looks like lifeless mud is actually a busy zone of chemical exchange and microbial activity. Life here is subtle, not absent. Movement on the abyssal plain is often minimal. Animals that do move tend to do so slowly, tracing deliberate paths across the seafloor. Every step, every motion costs energy. The physics of this environment favors stillness. Patience becomes a survival trait. Predation exists, but it is less intense than in more productive habitats. Low population densities mean fewer encounters. When predators do appear, they rely on ambush or opportunistic feeding rather than pursuit. The abyssal plain does not support high-speed chases. It supports waiting. Reproduction reflects this pace of life. Many abyssal species produce few offspring, investing heavily in each one. Growth is slow. Lifespans can be long. In a stable environment with little disturbance, Longevity is often a better strategy than rapid turnover. From a human perspective, the abyssal plain feels monotonous. From an ecological perspective, it is incredibly important. This vast habitat plays a major role in global nutrient cycling and carbon storage. Organic material that reaches the abyssal plain can be buried for long periods, effectively removing carbon from active circulation. The deep sea quietly influences the planet's climate without asking for attention. The idea of the abyssal plain as a desert fails because deserts are defined by absence. The abyssal plain is defined by restraint. Food arrives slowly but predictably. Life adapts by lowering expectations and stretching time. It is less a barren wasteland and more an extremely patient buffet where you wait a long time between courses. There is humour in imagining animals waiting months for a meal and treating that as normal. No complaints, no urgency, just quiet endurance. In the deep sea, impatience is a liability. The abyssal plain teaches us that ecosystems do not need abundance to function. They need balance. Over immense timescales, this flat, dark habitat has supported life continuously, proving that subtlety can be just as powerful as spectacle. So the next time you imagine the deep ocean as empty, remember the abyssal plain. It is not a void. It is a slow, steady system, humming quietly beneath the waves, reminding us that life does not need to rush to succeed. When most people hear the word coral, they picture warm, sunlit reefs bursting with colour and fish. Deep sea corals and sponges quietly laugh at that mental image from thousands of meters below the surface. These organisms build vast, intricate structures in total darkness, without sunlight, without photosynthesis, and without any sense of urgency whatsoever. If patience were a measurable resource, deep-sea corals would own the market. Deep-sea corals live in cold, dark waters, often anchored to rocky outcrops or seamounts where currents deliver a steady flow of food. Unlike their shallow water cousins, they do not host photosynthetic algae. They rely entirely on capturing organic particles and small organisms drifting by. This means growth is slow, painfully slow. We are talking millimeters per year, sometimes less. Some deep-sea corals are hundreds or even thousands of years old. Individual colonies can predate human civilizations. While trees get credit for long lifespans, deep-sea corals make them look like impulsive teenagers. These organisms treat centuries the way we treat weekends. There is no rush. Time is abundant. Sponges share this unhurried philosophy. Many deep-sea sponges grow slowly and live for extraordinarily long periods. Their bodies are porous, designed to filter massive volumes of water relative to their size. As water flows through them, they extract tiny food particles, bacteria, and organic matter. It is passive feeding at its finest. The slow growth of these organisms is not a disadvantage. It is an adaptation to stable, low-energy environments. When conditions change little over time, investing in longevity rather than rapid reproduction makes sense. Deep-sea corals and sponges are built to last, not to expand quickly. Their structures create habitat for other species. Coral branches and sponge frameworks provide shelter, attachment points, and hunting grounds for a wide variety of animals. In the deep sea, physical structure is rare, so when it appears, life gathers around it. These organisms are ecosystem engineers, shaping their surroundings simply by existing. The chemistry of deep-sea corals is also remarkable. Many incorporate minerals into their skeletons that record environmental conditions over time. Scientists study these growth layers to reconstruct past ocean temperatures and circulation patterns. In this way, deep-sea corals function as living archives, quietly documenting the history of the planet. Sponges contribute in their own subtle ways. They play a role in nutrient cycling by converting dissolved organic matter into forms that other organisms can use. This process helps retain nutrients in deep-sea ecosystems, preventing them from being lost to the broader ocean. Sponges are not just passive filters. They are active participants in ecosystem maintenance. One of the most striking aspects of deep-sea corals and sponges is their vulnerability. Their slow growth and long lifespans make them extremely sensitive to disturbance. Damage that might take a shallow reef a decade to recover from could take centuries down here. In some cases, recovery may not happen at all within human timescales. From a human point of view, it is almost comical how slowly these organisms operate. Imagine waiting decades to notice visible growth. Imagine measuring success in millimeters per lifetime. And yet, this strategy works. Over geological time, these organisms have persisted through climate shifts, ocean changes, and mass extinctions. The humor lies in perspective. We live fast lives and celebrate rapid progress. Deep-sea corals and sponges quietly succeed by doing the opposite. They grow slowly, stay put, and outlast everything around them. There is something oddly reassuring about that. In the darkness of the deep ocean, these organisms build forests without leaves, reefs without sunlight, and communities without noise. They remind us that life does not need speed or spectacle to be successful. Sometimes the most powerful strategy is simply staying alive long enough to matter. In the deep sea, food rarely comes from hunting or farming. It comes from waiting. Gravity does most of the work, and patience does the rest. For much of the deep ocean, especially far from vents and seeps, the primary source of energy arrives from above, in a slow, steady drizzle known as marine snow. It is not snow in the traditional sense, unless you consider dead plankton, fecal pellets, mucus, and assorted organic debris festive. Marine snow forms near the surface, where sunlight fuels massive blooms of microscopic life. When these organisms die or get eaten, their remains clump together into tiny particles that begin a long descent. As they sink, they are consumed, altered, and repackaged by microbes and small animals, becoming increasingly processed with depth. By the time marine snow reaches the seafloor, it is a shadow of its former self. But in the deep sea, leftovers are still valuable. This constant rain of organic material feeds countless organisms. Microbes break it down further, releasing nutrients. Small invertebrates graze on the sediment where marine snow settles. Larger animals feed on those invertebrates. It is a food web built on recycling and restraint. Nothing is wasted because waste is opportunity. Marine snow is unpredictable in quality, but reliable in presence. It falls everywhere, all the time, though rarely in abundance. This shapes behavior and biology. Animals adapted to this lifestyle are slow, efficient, and opportunistic. They do not expect full meals. They expect crumbs, and they make those crumbs count. Then there are whale falls, the deep sea's version of winning the lottery. When a large whale dies at the surface and sinks to the seafloor, it delivers a massive pulse of organic material in a single event. A whale fall can provide sustenance for decades, supporting a succession of communities as the carcass is gradually consumed. The arrival of a whale fall transforms the surrounding seafloor. Scavengers arrive first, stripping away soft tissue. Later, other organisms colonize the remaining bones, extracting nutrients and energy over long periods. The skeleton itself becomes a habitat, hosting specialized species that rely on this rare resource. Whale falls are significant, not just because of their size, but because of their timing. They are unpredictable. No one knows when the next one will arrive or where. This randomness favors opportunistic species capable of detecting and exploiting these events quickly. The chemistry of decomposition at whale falls creates localized environments rich in reduced compounds. These conditions allow microbes to flourish, supporting animals that can tap into these microbial processes. In this way, whale falls create temporary ecosystems that mirror some aspects of other deep-sea oases, but on a biological schedule rather than a geological one. From an evolutionary perspective, whale falls act as stepping stones. They may help species disperse across the deep sea floor by providing intermittent resources that bridge otherwise sparse habitats. In a vast, nutrient-poor environment, these rare feasts matter. There is humor in imagining the deep sea waiting for food to fall from the sky, and yet, this strategy works because the surface ocean is productive. Everything that lives in the deep sea is, in some way, connected to what happens far above, even if that connection takes months or years to materialize. Marine snow and whale falls also highlight the importance of scale. What looks insignificant at the surface becomes essential at depth. A single sinking particle can feed microbes. A single dead whale can reshape an ecosystem. For deep-sea organisms, patience is not passive. It is active preparation. Sensory systems are tuned to detect subtle chemical signals. Behaviors are optimized to exploit fleeting opportunities. When something finally arrives, it is used thoroughly. In the deep sea, there are no grocery stores, no farms, and no guarantees. There is only waiting and readiness. Sometimes that waiting is rewarded with a dusting of organic snow. Sometimes it is rewarded with the largest meal of a lifetime. Either way, gravity provides, eventually. And in a world where food comes from above, patience is not just a virtue, it is a survival strategy. In the deep sea, being a predator is not about speed, strength, or dramatic pursuits. It is about timing. Energy is scarce, meals are unpredictable, and every movement has a cost. Under these conditions, chasing prey is a terrible idea. The most successful predators down here have embraced a quieter philosophy. Do less. Wait more. Let the universe bring dinner to you. Ambush predation dominates the deep ocean because it minimizes energy expenditure. Instead of roaming large distances in search of food, predators position themselves where prey is most likely to appear. This might be near subtle currents, along the sea floor, or in areas where drifting organisms naturally pass. Once in position, they wait, motionless, invisible, economical. Many deep-sea predators have bodies designed for stillness. Soft tissues reduce buoyancy challenges and allow them to hover with minimal effort. Fins are often broad and slow-moving, optimized for gentle adjustments rather than bursts of speed. When you are planning to sit still for hours or days, comfort matters. sensory systems take center stage. Vision, where it exists, is tuned for low light and movement detection rather than detail. Other senses fill in the gaps, detecting vibrations, pressure changes, or faint chemical cues allows predators to sense prey without revealing themselves. In the deep sea, the best hunters are the ones that announce themselves the least. Strikes, when they happen, are decisive. Ambush predators rely on short, explosive movements that deliver immediate results. There is no room for prolonged struggle. The energy budget does not allow it. Either the prey is captured quickly or the opportunity is abandoned. Persistence is expensive. Precision is efficient. Mouths and jaws are often disproportionately large relative to body size. This allows predators to capitalize on rare encounters by consuming prey as large as possible. When meals are infrequent, maximizing each one is critical. Expandable jaws and stomachs are common solutions to this problem. Some predators use camouflage to enhance their ambush strategy. Transparency, dark coloration, or textures that blend into the seafloor make them harder to detect. In darkness, being invisible is not about color. It is about breaking outlines and avoiding contrast. If prey cannot distinguish you from the background, you have already won. Others take advantage of curiosity. Subtle movements, faint glows, or gentle drifting can draw prey closer without triggering alarm. This is not aggressive behavior. It is psychological. In the deep sea, curiosity can be fatal. Energy conservation shapes not just hunting, but recovery. After feeding, many predators enter periods of inactivity, digesting slowly and conserving resources. There is no rush to hunt again. The deep sea rewards patience after success, as much as patience before it. This hunting strategy also influences population dynamics. Predators are relatively sparse, spaced far apart to reduce competition. Encounters between predators are rare, which lowers the risk of conflict. In an environment where energy is precious, fighting is a luxury no one can afford. From a human perspective, ambush predation can feel anticlimactic. We expect predators to chase, struggle, and triumph visibly. Deep sea predation often happens off camera, in stillness, followed by long stretches of nothing. But this quiet efficiency is exactly why it works. The humor lies in the inversion of expectations. On land, we celebrate speed and endurance. In the deep sea, the winning strategy is essentially professional loitering. Sit still, look harmless, wait for someone else to make a mistake. Ambush predators also highlight a broader truth about deep sea life. Survival is not about being the best at everything. It is about being good enough at the one thing that matters most. For predators, that thing is capturing food without wasting energy. In a world where calories are rare and movement is costly, chasing food is indeed overrated. Waiting, it turns out, is the most aggressive strategy of all. Reaching the deep sea is not a casual decision. You do not just wake up and think, "Let us go visit the abyss." The pressures involved are immense, the darkness is total, and the margin for error is unforgiving. And yet, scientists keep going, not because it is easy or comfortable, but because curiosity has a way of ignoring common sense. The challenge begins with pressure. At great depths, the force exerted by the water above is enough to crush most materials. Any vessel designed to survive these conditions must be built with extreme care. Thick walls, rounded shapes, and carefully engineered materials are not optional. They are the difference between exploration and becoming a very brief cautionary tale. Manned submersibles are among the most dramatic tools used to reach the deep sea. These vehicles carry human observers inside pressure-resistant chambers, often spherical, because spheres distribute stress evenly. Inside, space is limited, movement is restricted, and comfort is not a priority. The goal is survival and observation, not luxury. The experience of descending in a submersible is slow and deliberate. Light fades gradually, then disappears completely. Outside the window, the world becomes a black void punctuated only by the occasional drifting organism. Time stretches, depth increases, the surface feels very far away. Unmanned vehicles, often called remotely operated vehicles, handle much of modern deep-sea exploration. These robotic systems are connected to ships by long cables that transmit power and data. They can stay at depth for extended periods, perform precise tasks, and go places too risky for humans. Cameras, sensors, and manipulators allow scientists to observe and sample the deep sea without leaving the safety of the surface. Autonomous vehicles take this one step further. These machines operate without direct control, following pre-programmed paths and collecting data independently. They can map seafloor terrain, measure environmental conditions, and survey large areas efficiently. In a place as vast as the deep ocean, autonomy is essential. Designing machines for the deep sea requires creative problem solving. Electronics must be protected from pressure and cold. Materials must resist corrosion. Systems must function reliably in an environment where repair is impossible. Every component is tested again, and then tested under conditions that simulate the worst-case scenario. Communication is another challenge. Radio waves do not travel well through seawater, so most deep-sea vehicles rely on cables or acoustic signals. This limits data transfer and introduces delays. Operating a robot thousands of meters below the surface requires patience and trust in the engineering. Despite these obstacles, deep-sea technology has advanced rapidly. Improvements in imaging, lighting, and sensor design have transformed our understanding of the ocean's depths. High-resolution cameras now reveal details that were once unimaginable. Subtle movements, delicate structures, and fleeting behaviors can be observed and recorded, but technology alone does not explain why scientists go to these lengths. The real driver is curiosity. Humans are wired to explore, to ask what lies beyond the horizon, even when that horizon is vertical and filled with crushing pressure. Each descent into the deep sea expands our knowledge. New species are discovered. Unexpected behaviors are documented. Long-held assumptions are challenged. The deep ocean consistently reminds us that we do not know as much as we think we do. There is humor in the contrast between the hostile environment and the fragile-looking machines we send into it. Thin cables connecting robots to ships, small windows separating humans from immense force. And yet, these systems work, again and again. Curiosity pushes technology forward, and technology feeds curiosity in return. It is a feedback loop powered by questions. What lives down there? How does it survive? What else have we missed? In the end, reaching the deep sea is not about conquering it. It is about listening, observing, learning, and admitting that in a place where pressure dominates everything, curiosity is still strong enough to push back. The deep sea feels distant, insulated from human influence by sheer depth and darkness. For a long time, it was easy to believe that whatever happened at the surface stayed at the surface. Unfortunately, the ocean does not work that way. Even the most remote, unreachable ecosystems are connected to the rest of the planet. And human activity has a talent for reaching places it has no business affecting. Climate change influences the deep ocean in subtle but profound ways. Heat, absorbed by the upper layers of the ocean, slowly moves downward, altering temperature gradients that have been stable for centuries. Even small changes in temperature can affect metabolic rates, reproductive timing, and species distributions in deep-sea organisms that evolved under consistent conditions. Changes at the surface also alter the supply of organic material sinking to depth. Shifts in plankton communities, productivity, and seasonal cycles influence how much food reaches the deep sea and when. For ecosystems built on predictability, disruption matters. When the timing or quantity of food changes, survival strategies honed over millions of years can become liabilities. Oxygen levels in the ocean are also changing. As warmer water holds less dissolved oxygen and circulation patterns shift, low oxygen conditions can expand and intensify. This has cascading effects, even in deep environments, forcing organisms to cope with conditions outside their historical range. Adaptations that once worked may no longer be enough. Then there is the issue of deep-sea mining. Vast areas of the seafloor contain mineral-rich deposits that are increasingly attractive for technological applications. Extracting these resources requires disturbing habitats that recover slowly, if at all. The deep sea's defining trait, its stability, is exactly what makes it vulnerable. Mining operations can remove or destroy seafloor structures that took centuries to form. Sediment plumes generated by mining can spread over large areas, smothering organisms and altering chemical conditions. Noise and light, introduced into an otherwise quiet, dark environment, add additional stressors to species unaccustomed to them. The problem is not just physical damage, it is uncertainty. Many deep-sea species are poorly studied. We do not fully understand their life cycles, interactions, or resilience. Disturbing these systems without that knowledge is like pulling threads from a tapestry while blindfolded and hoping nothing important unravels. There is a bitter irony in the situation. Humans have impacted ecosystems we have barely explored. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do about much of the deep ocean, and yet our influence reaches both. It is an impressive and unsettling achievement. The humor, if it exists, is dark. We have managed to leave fingerprints on environments that required extraordinary effort just to observe. It is as if curiosity and care took a back seat to convenience and demand. Conservation in the deep sea presents unique challenges. Monitoring is difficult. Enforcement is complicated. Recovery is slow. Protecting these ecosystems requires long-term thinking in a world that struggles with short-term incentives. Yet there is hope in awareness. As exploration increases, so does understanding. As understanding grows, so does the argument for caution. The deep sea is not empty. It is not expendable. It is a vast, functioning part of the Earth system. Recognizing the deep sea as connected rather than isolated changes how we think about responsibility. Actions at the surface ripple downward. Decisions made far from the ocean floor can shape conditions thousands of meters below. The deep sea does not protest. It does not make noise. It absorbs change quietly. That silence should not be mistaken for resilience without limits. If there is one lesson here, it is humility. The ability to affect something does not imply the wisdom to do so. And the fact that we can reach the deep sea does not mean we should rush to reshape it. Sometimes, the most responsible action is restraint, especially in places we are only just beginning to understand. By the time you reach the deepest parts of the ocean in your mind, something becomes clear. Life is not fragile in the way we often imagine. It is not limited to gentle conditions or narrow comfort zones. It is opportunistic, stubborn, and endlessly inventive. Wherever the rules of physics allow even a slim opening, biology steps through and starts redecorating. The deep sea strips existence down to fundamentals. There is no sunlight, immense pressure, low temperatures, and limited energy. These are not minor inconveniences. They are absolute constraints. And yet life does not just survive here. It specializes, it fine-tunes, it turns limitations into defining features. What stands out most is how consistent this pattern is. Across different habitats, depths, and conditions, life finds ways to work within physical boundaries rather than fight them. Pressure is not resisted. It is accommodated. Darkness is not feared. It is ignored. Scarcity is not lamented. It is managed. This tells us something important about adaptation. Evolution does not chase perfection. It explores possibility. When a solution works well enough to persist, it becomes refined over time. In the deep sea, that refinement has produced organisms that look unfamiliar, move slowly, and operate on timescales we rarely consider. They are not failures of design. They are masterpieces of context. There is also a lesson in humility here. Human experience is shaped by surface conditions, so we tend to measure habitability by our own standards. We assume warmth, light, and abundance are prerequisites for life. The deep ocean quietly dismantles that assumption. Life does not require comfort. It requires opportunity. Even the idea of darkness loses its meaning. For many deep-sea organisms, darkness is not an absence. It is the default. Senses evolve accordingly. Behavior adapts. Communication changes. The environment is not hostile because it is familiar. Biology also reveals a sense of flair. Even when conditions are extreme, life finds ways to be extravagant. Unexpected shapes, unusual strategies, creative partnerships. It is as if evolution occasionally decides that if it is going to work this hard to survive, it might as well do something interesting along the way. There is humor in that creativity, not because it is silly, but because it is surprising. We do not expect elegance in hardship, yet it appears again and again. In places where everything seems stacked against life, biology still manages to show off. The deep sea also reframes our understanding of resilience. These ecosystems persist not through brute force, but through balance. Slow growth, efficient energy use, and long-term stability create systems that endure. They are not immune to change, but they are finely tuned to their environments. As we look outward, beyond our planet, these lessons matter. If life can adapt to the deep ocean, it expands our imagination of where life might exist elsewhere. Extreme does not mean empty. Unfamiliar does not mean lifeless. Physics sets the boundaries, but biology explores every corner within them. At the same time, the deep sea reminds us of responsibility. Just because life can adapt does not mean it should have to adapt to us. These ecosystems evolved over immense spans of time, shaped by consistency rather than disruption. Respecting that history matters. In the end, the deep ocean is not just a place of mystery. It is a testament, a demonstration that life is not easily discouraged, that even in darkness, under pressure, and with limited resources, existence finds a way to flourish. So when we think about the unreachable parts of our planet, Perhaps the real takeaway is this: life does not wait for ideal conditions. It waits for possible ones. And once it finds them, it gets to work, quietly proving that biology is one of the most impressive things physics has ever allowed.